This is a rather intense opening for a Famicom game. But it was only a story Ricky Slater was hearing from his friend Merle. Two things stand out about Hector's 1992 game Moon Crystal. One, the high-quality cinematic Ninja Gaiden-esque narrative presentation and plot. And two, the shockingly fluid animation, not that you'll see it in this opening cutscene. Like so many developers back then, Hector took inspiration from action films, telling a pulpy story involving, of course, a kidnapped girl. In this case, Merle. However, Ricky's entire village has been kidnapped, not only Merle, although she, along with Ricky's father, serve as our hero's primary motive. Moon Crystal was a Japanese exclusive, by the way. This English translation comes from Alex W. Jackson of ROMHacking.net, making video games available to wider audiences one patch at a time. Yet another cutscene plays after you press start, featuring a flashback of Mr. Slater telling his son of the titular Moon Crystal. That's our MacGuffin, eh? The colors in these cutscenes are fantastic. Almost looks like a Super Famicom game. The gameplay begins, and it becomes clear why Moon Crystal is worth remembering. Ricky and his enemy's animation might not be up to the standard of Prince of Persia, but their movements have many more frames than the vast majority of 8-bit platformers. Or maybe just a few more, I don't really know. It makes the world feel much more lifelike. I'm not sure about their brown outlines, though. Unlike most 8-bit platform heroes, Ricky can grab onto ledges with his presumably extremely muscular arms. He even sways back and forth slightly. It looks nice. Alas, like so many 8-bit platform heroes, Ricky's weapon has pitifully short reach. Those purple, mysterious abductors confuse me. Based on the opening, I thought they were zombies, but they seem to just be guys in strange hoodies.
Next, I'm happy to inform you that the Maharaja is no longer a concern.
I suppose that might have been to trick the villagers? They always respond as though Ricky stabbed them in the gut, no matter where the knife hits. Each level ends with a boss and another cutscene, and is full of treasure chests. And each chest holds a different power-up, including double jump boots, a weapon extension, and heart containers. The weapon extension somehow gives Ricky's dagger a further reach. You'd think this might involve swapping the dagger for a sword, but no, I'm not sure what the extension's supposed to be. Magic? Die once and you lose all the power-ups. It's like Gradius. This, death, is the main obstacle, just like in real life. But unlike in real life, it's because in large part the strategy is to have as many upgrades as possible so that Ricky's life bar will be long enough to defeat the boss in a gut-stabbing contest. Alas, in a truly dialectical contradiction, Moon Crystal's fluid animation is not only its greatest asset, but its major flaw. Because of the many frames of animation Ricky must pass through to, for example, turn around, his movements are not instantaneous. There's a slight delay to your button inputs. After Super Mario Bros. Or Mega Man, it screws with your head. It wasn't a problem for me until the pirate ship stage, but makes the bosses more difficult than they should be. Or would if I took them on like I'm supposed to instead of, stabbing contest. The main difficulty is never the enemies, but rather the annoyingly picky double jump, or this gate puzzle that I attempted over and over. The levels feel generic as well. After the first two, they're just unpleasant to look at, all brown and gray and black like the world is sick. Though, given the horror-like tone, that might be fitting. There might be Ninja Gaiden-style cinematics, but there's no Ninja Gaiden-style extreme difficulty. Moon Crystal is pretty easy for the most part, but just tedious and unpleasant. To me, a video game can have good graphics, good gameplay, good story, good music, and so on. Moon Crystal's graphics are mostly fantastic. The gameplay is so-so, and the music bland. Well, what about the story? That's the other draw, right? After killing an axe-wielding bodybuilder in the forest, Ricky approaches a town where he happens to run into a mysterious woman named Rosina. She explains that the men who kidnapped the villagers work for Count Crimson.
How do you know this? Who are you? I am Rosina. The Count intends to misuse the crystal.
I do like the Count's monocle and top hat. These cue us into how he's an aristocrat, who are always evil.
The moon crystal shines only during a full moon. But if we finish the Luna system, we can draw its power at any time. As a man of science, you must be interested. Won't you help me? That power is for the good of mankind, not for creating monsters.
Surprisingly, Count Crimson's just the third boss. And rigged with explosives, apparently.
Crimson! Where's Dad?
But no, this turns out to be a body double. But the Count should seriously have hired somebody else, since this guy just tells Ricky where the real Count is. The story's pretty generic overall. By Famicom platformer standards, the plot's very involved, but there's hardly room for deep themes or engaging characters. There are some twists, however. For example, spoilers ahead, Rosina turns out to be Count Crimson's daughter. As the plot moves on, Ricky discovers that Count Crimson intends to put the moon crystal towards evil ends. With the moon crystal as power source, Count Crimson means to use the Luna system to raise an army of the dead and become immortal. The script implies the villagers might have been enslaved to dig crystals out of the Count's mine. He's a seriously evil guy. And I really do feel bad about how the Count forced Ricky's dad to finish the Luna system. Granted, I shouldn't be judging a story from a 1992 Famicom game by too high a standard, but despite the promising opening, the plot says almost nothing and somehow feels even cheesier and more forgettable than Ninja Gaiden's tale of generic pulp action madness. The cutscenes aren't as dynamic either. Why does Rosina receive so much more character development than Merle, apparently our best friend? The levels can feel disjointed, too. Ricky needs to get to the Count's island, so he jumps aboard a pirate ship? Since when were there pirates involved? And, of course, the script never mentions the pirates again. Plus, Ricky was an ordinary boy, right? But he's instantly cool with stabbing people to death? The kid leaves a trail of corpses in his wake. They're not monsters, these are obviously people. In Ninja Gaiden, it makes sense, since Ryu is, well, a ninja, a professional killer. But by drawing attention to its plot, Moon Crystal becomes extremely disturbing. This is a story of how a wicked aristocrat enslaves villagers, forcing the one child he missed to become an efficient murderer. Maybe if the gameplay was really fun instead of kinda tedious, I wouldn't mind. But as it is, Moon Crystal's meh. For people back in the 1990s, though, when technology was more limited and there weren't as many good video games, I imagine it would be quite a find. Once I got to what I believe is the second to last boss, a man in a mech suit, and he foiled my stabbing contest strategy, I put in a few more tries and finally stopped. My time is more valuable than this. After Esper Dream, my patience needed a holiday. But somebody on YouTube called Heroes of Xanadu Sloth seems to have done a full run of Moon Crystal without dying. Hats off to you, Heroes of Xanadu Sloth. Let's see what happens next. That's actually pretty dark. Anyway, after some platforming challenges, the Moon Crystal turns the Count into a hideous pulsating monster, Ricky kills him, and we have the finale. While it's not as if we knew Rosina all that well, this is actually a pretty bittersweet ending. Feels like somebody had a vision they wanted to see achieved, and they did. Somebody being the writer and graphic artist H. Odachi, I suppose. Moon Crystal is no lost classic, but it's hardly bad. Just middle of the road, with some great cutscenes and fantastic animation. Then again, a lot of people really love Ninja Gaiden, and that's not my kind of thing, so who knows? They might love Moon Crystal too. Well, that sure was a fun little video, huh? Maybe fun enough for like, comment, and subscribing to Mackerel Phones. The next Famicom Adventures video will be about Princess Tomato in the Salad Kingdom. So, you can subscribe for that at least. Personally, I'm just glad that Hector went on to make more interesting oddball games. The story-heavy adventure game Ihatovo Monogatari, based on the writings of Miyazawa Kenji, the action game Breakout Clone Hybrid Fire Striker, and surely the greatest video game of all time, Thoroughbred Breeder.